So say the person doesn't have a legal job, but they've worked before, but they've got the fees, like they've got the amount of money. Can you give them a mortgage?
Like, if they've got sat in a fucking briefcase in cash, it's going to be fucking difficult. Like,
wait, you didn't say impossible, though.
I swear to God, it's not impossible, bruv. None of it's, like, if you get the right advisor, the right people, like,
pay enough money,
there's always someone out there. But what's more common is, like, you know, people obviously, like, we were talking earlier about, a lot of, like, the fucking takeaways and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course.
You know, like, there's a lot of these other, like, people will, like, launder this money, like, obviously, because they want it in their bank accounts. As long as you haven't done any of that shit in 6 months in that bank account, you don't, like, a lot of the time, I'm probably not going to know you got another bank account, right? Because I'm not doing it fucking, how am I going to know you got another, you could have all that money filtering into that bank account.
Alright, listen, before you get into the video, we have a goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers.
You look, I can't lie, it's a no-brainer.
There's so many people who watch
and you're not
don't subscribe.
You see the red button, right underneath the video, innit? And then there's a bell right next to it.
Click those two buttons before we go into the video.
And when we hit 1,000, we'll pay it back to you, man. Don't worry.
Because you have to understand, the more you subscribe, the more shit we can do.
Simple as.
Worried about breaking this one now. I'm worried about breaking this one now.
Yeah, no, he should be good.
See that one?
Always that one. Though.
See that one?
Yeah,
I think Yao, I've done the
that
whole
was
thing.
Yao.
He started
it.
And then it just
worse.
Then other man like Yao were just doing the same thing.
But I didn't even touch. You know, I didn't even touch it. I was just like that, my arm.
I think it's something about that seat.
Probably.
Just sitting in that seat, making guys move crazy. But he's saying we should start.
I'm done.
Yeah,
down when you are, mate.
Yeah.
Just briefly before, like, well, we know what we're talking about. Well, we'll just let it flow, innit?
Yeah, this is it. We're running. All of this is in.
Yeah.
Oh, this is in as well?
This is in.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool. Yeah. No worries, man.
I'm waiting for you to say something.
Yeah, I'm not saying nothing.
Okay, cool.
Your podcast hour's been wasted.
What and how? How has it been wasted?
No, carry on.
Alright, cool. Anyway,
I'm ready, man. Let's go.
Cool. So it's a Tuesday, and it means one thing. It means one thing only. You're tuning back into the 2-Man-Step podcast with myself, DK.
Myself, Damz.
Today, on the
on the panel.
Back again, Kieran. Back again.
KD, you know.
And James the bass.
Simple.
Simple.
So let's just get down to the nitty gritty, yeah. So James, just tell them a bit about yourself, what you've done and what you do, innit?
Yeah, so I've spent a couple of years as a mortgage advisor now. I basically started out like 17 working for a big property company in the UK, one of the largest at the time. Started out in recruitment, then worked up into like admin for mortgages, stuff like that. Then basically self-studied to go and become a mortgage advisor. And I was practicing about 19 years old, going into 20. So it was quite like...
So what, was you actually like reading books, taking courses?
Yeah, man, literally, like, the studying is, like, you go study 3-4 years at uni, do finance, do whatever you want. Come out of that, you then go and do your CMAP anyway. So you can do that. CMAP? It's basically the certificate you have to take to become a mortgage advisor.
Okay.
Don't need any degrees, nothing like that. It's literally a private course that you can take separately. So,
because how did you even get into it at 17? Because, like, so what, you come out of school?
Yeah, literally, man, for an apprenticeship.
Oh, for an apprenticeship.
So literally, it was like a level 3 business admin. So you went into that, did what was pretty much useless, like coursework and stuff like that throughout the year. It was just like basic maths and stuff like that.
So then, how long was the apprenticeship for then?
Literally just a year to get a level 3 business admin.
Oh, it was a year?
Yeah, literally a year apprenticeship.
Apprenticeship to like 4 years long.
Yeah, literally a year working in an office. It was like 1 day a month you'd get like a private tutor come in and do like a couple of hours through like the company. That was literally it. No self-studying, nothing like that.
Crazy.
Get a level 3 at the end of that. So obviously by then I'm 18, so I don't really need to be in education anymore. Come out of that, go straight into what was essentially at that point like a low-level admin role.
Okay.
So that was basically just assisting the mortgage advisors, calling up clients, that kind of stuff, letting them know what was going on throughout the process, talking to the banks and that. And obviously working in the recruitment before, just doing like a low-level CV job, you were seeing like the salaries and stuff like that they're advertising it for. So it's like, all right, that looks interesting. You know, I left school at 16, 17. That wasn't quite what I was expecting to be looking at that point. So it's like, how do you do that? Well, actually, all it is this certificate you can take separately. So yeah, like the courses themselves, it's a couple £100 to actually do the course, but it's the tutoring alongside that. If you want to go and do like a week intensive, like a driving course, and you get that, you can go and practice as an advisor. It's like
just literally that easy.
Yeah, literally just straight into it. But obviously, like it's broken down into like 3 different certificates, like level CMAP 1, 2, 3. One is just like financial education, pensions, that kind of stuff. Like stuff that if you did like business, economics, financial studies at school, that kind of stuff you would have actually learned already. Yeah. So if you can just open up a book, read through that book, that's pretty much all you need to do to actually go on to that certificate.
Okay.
2 is actually like what is essentially coursework, and 3 is essentially like actually basing it on what you would like a case study essentially.
So you basically like you would be out in the field.
At that point, literally all you need is a level 1, like CMAP 1, and you can get straight out working because that's the bit that passes the regulation. So you don't even need to go and do 2 and 3 if you're going to go and work for a corporation.
Okay, so you can just do the 1 and then. So wait, that CMAP is basically an equivalent of me taking my certificates to a job and just showing them that I've got this.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Would you say like with mortgage advising, is there quite a lot of young people doing it, or is it vary with age sort of thing? Would you say it's like middle age?
I'll be real. Me personally, you're the first ever mortgage advisor.
Yeah, that's true. I've never spoken to him.
Yeah, like I've never. So it's just hearing you say these things and you saying that. Basically, the pathway was that smooth.
Yeah.
It can, like, to you lot listening, if you ever want to go into it, like, look, it's there, innit?
Good thing as well, like, if you have any questions, I was just at work one day, I was asking James, I was like, about this mortgage, I was like, what should I do? You know what I mean? You can just, and you know what I mean, he's worked in it, so you can just, you know what I mean? So
I was even going to say, on top of what Kieran was saying, do you reckon a lot of young people don't know enough about mortgages when they get one?
Oh, 100%, yeah. It's literally... It's almost, to be honest, like after working in the industry, it's almost like a tactic. Yeah. Because working as like an advisor, it's not that you're taught to actually educate your clients. It's actually, you know, in fairness, the opposite. You want to keep as much information in a lot of cases as to like how you can work this stuff out on your own. Because if you're charging these people £600 to come and talk to you for 2 hours and then go and produce
2 hours.
2 hours, like
£600.
You're talking about like. But this is the thing, like you're talking about 2 meetings. One is essentially a fact find meeting in a lot of cases. Tell me about yourself, you know, what you do for a living, all of that good stuff. Give me your documents, pay slips, bank statements, stuff that I can then read and make sure you're not doing anything shady, you know, all of that stuff. Like the main part of the job really is actually like, well, how do I get as much money from this? You know, in a lot of senses, because you know, that £600 for an advisor, you're probably getting like 10% of, 15, 20% of, if you're lucky. You know, in a lot of cases, if you're working directly for the business. But the main money is actually coming from like the insurance. The mortgage company itself is probably going to pay like £1,000, £1,500 in commission to the lender, to the like intermediary, which is essentially like the advisor's company. For their services.
I was about to say quickly, are you like basically subcontractors?
You're like a middleman, effectively.
So it goes to someone, then they pass it on to you. That's where you say you do the checks, make sure they're not doing nothing booky.
This is it.
And then you pass it on.
Like 50 years ago, a lot of people, if you wanted to go get a mortgage, you would walk into your bank, right? Like the first thing you're going to do is go, oh, I bank with Abby at the time on NatWest, whatever it would have been, and go, yeah, fine, I'm going to walk into the bank. I'm going to get my mortgage with them. Nowadays, a lot of people are wanting to look at different options, and actually, you know, after the crisis in 2008, which obviously like a lot of us were too young to really, you know, remember at that point, like a lot of the banks started to move away from employing their own advisors, because if stuff's going wrong, there's someone at fault. It's probably the advisor or the bank that the advisor's working for. So what do? You pay someone in the middle a commission for actually doing that role for you and taking on that risk. So the customer's really paying £600. That's to make the, like, you know, the service look like it's worth a value. And that's why a lot of mortgage advisors nowadays will either not charge a fee or charge a lower fee, because you may get £600 from the mortgage, but you probably can get £1,000, £1,100, £1,500. You know, in London, a lot more than that is a commission from the bank. You know, you're talking 0.4, 0.5% sometimes.
So wait, when you say it goes to the advisor's company, so you personally?
Well, you can be like an independent mortgage advisor, but obviously that means building up a brand, that means going out advertising, you know, that means doing all of those other things, which, you know, everyone has to do if they want to build a business, and you must be fully qualified. in all three of those parts of CMAP to go and do that.
Okay, to do it. Yeah.
And be signed off as a competent advisor in that part. But actually, if you go and work through an intermediary, a company in between, you don't need those other two parts. You can work directly with the public, doing the same role, and just earn a commission from the business that you're working
so
for.
Effectively, you're earning more money doing it that way.
You probably earn more money self-employed, but what you're not getting is a base salary, whereas like as a mortgage advisor, you're probably getting like 20, 25, if you're experienced, a hell of a lot more than that in some cases, in a base salary. You're also getting a company car, you're getting bonuses, but the main part is commission, because actually, that customer's paying £600 for their, the advice. The bank's paying them £1,100, £1,200 for, taking on that risk that we were talking about. But the big one is the insurance. Like if someone will take life insurance, critical illness insurance, income protection, all of those other protections that a mortgage advisor will offer, the insurance companies will be paying anywhere between like £1,000, £4,000, £5,000 in commission. It could be a lot more than that for someone who's a lot older and is paying a lot more in premiums. And that is all gauged off of the premiums that they're paying. So, in a lot of cases, the higher the premium is for the customer, the higher the payment is for the company and mortgage advisor.
One thing I was going to ask, because people who watch this are going to be like our age and stuff, buying first house, like shared ownerships, like they hear a lot about them.
Yeah.
What would you? Because like a lot of people say a little deposit down, and then I think it's high monthly payments and stuff. What would you recommend? Someone's about to do one of them. What would you say to them, sort of thing? Like,
I mean, I think the big thing with things like shared ownership, help to buy schemes, a lot of that is like there's always someone else profiting. There's got to be somewhere for the profit to be made. If you imagine you buy 100% of a house, obviously you're paying a hell of a lot in a mortgage payment. A lot of the time, like if you're breaking down a mortgage payment, there's probably, if not the same, slightly less or more of your monthly payment actually going towards the interest payment than the actual capital towards the house. So really, the bank's profiting off of you owing the money. Of course, that's how it works. Otherwise, they wouldn't loan it to you. But like if you're paying like £1,600 a month to the mortgage company, that could be like £800, £900 a month in interest, in a single month, where actually like if you're paying a landlord, that could be £800, £900, £1,200, London, £2,500, depending, if not a hell of a lot more, you're paying that to the landlord. With something like shared ownership, you're doing both. You're paying the mortgage on the share of ownership that you have, and you're also paying what is effectively a landlord on top of that too in rent. So they own a portion of your home. You may have to ask them for specific permissions to actually do things with that property. But that there are disadvantages to that, as there are with home ownership itself, where you may have to take more responsibility for maintenance or disputes or other issues that are come across there. But with shared ownership, if you are on a lower income and can't afford the size house you need, like if you have children, you may need more rooms than you could afford if you bought the house entirely. Shared ownership can be a good idea if you need to get on the ladder and haven't purchased in the past. But if you do that, what a lot of people haven't considered is if they do want to purchase a different home entirely, they're going to have to pay things like stamp duty, solicitor. A lot of the time, you're probably going to pay your solicitor £2,500 in fees.
Sorry, quickly, what is stamp duty?
Stamp duty is the tax that you basically pay when you purchase a home. For first-time buyers, there are certain, depending on where you are in the country, certain different limits to the property you can purchase before stamp duty is incurred. If you're moving home, though, you're going to be paying flat stamp duty. I mean, if you work it out, on a £300,000 home, which is the average house price, roundabouts in the UK at the moment, you're looking at about £2,500 in stamp duty.
Yeah, 20 and say what you're saying. So what? Right now, the average home in all of UK is £300,000.
It's £287,000, I think, roundabouts in the recent.
That's hefty,
It's a lot of money, man.
I remember when houses were worth like 150.
Man. I mean,
literally, they've all doubled in price.
And they're building new houses every day as well.
All the time,
all the new builds.
There's so many. Honestly, every area I've been to recently, I'm seeing new builds everywhere.
Bro, my dad bumped into some guy and he said he just put 600k down.
What?
600
Really?
As a deposit?
Nah.
He bought it outright.
Yeah, for the house.
Yeah, okay.
So on that, I mean, you were talking about like how many houses being built, how many empty houses there are at the moment. I think the most recent report said there's 676,000 empty homes in England right now.
Empty.
Empty houses, yeah.
So just being built, no one's bought.
Or just like people have bought them and left them empty.
So
like, people
they
own them
need
and they're
to
not
be
renting them out.
refurbed.
Yeah, but I was even going to say, you know, the area near us, that's like, I can't lie, half the houses there are empty, but they have windows.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of them are empty.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
There's 270,000 homeless people roughly in the UK, for comparison. So you could give each one of them 2 houses.
Wait,
and you,
how many?
About 270,000 homeless
So there's
people.
almost, yeah.
So there's
That's
actually
crazy, isn't it?
double the amount of empty houses to homeless
What?
people. Yeah, more than that.
You could put all them homeless in those cribs.
Yeah, and obviously that's not.
Money,
Yeah, exactly. That's not necessarily the answer to these problems, but it's a good comparison to show, like, you know, when you've got a population of 69 million, you've got, you know, 2/3 of a million houses sat there empty, man.
Literally. Why do you think it's like this though? You reckon it's down to greed and money in the end of the day, or what is it?
I think it always is, man. Like, it was, you know, like I was saying about the industry itself. Like, a lot of what you're doing is about making profit, whether you're doing it in a banking capacity or an intermediary capacity. But obviously, you know that, because why else would the business be there? Like, that's the problem with, you know, the privatisation of those kind of businesses. You're not teaching this in like a government-run education setting. You're teaching this by enabling private corporations to, you know, go out there, and it's not about teaching people about these life skills, because if they know these life skills, why the hell would they employ you? You know, why would they be paying you £600?
Basically gone.
Yeah, man. You know, you charge them £600 the first time, but then the second time, like, oh, I'm doing you a favour, I'm charging you £300. But you know, we'll renew your life insurance. We'll, you know, we'll do all of those good things again, because actually you need them. It's been a couple of years now, and we need to update that stuff. You got a new grandkid, you got a new son, like. You know, there's always stuff that you can bring on there that you can make money from in a lot of ways, and that's the way a lot of that industry works.
Crazy.
So what would you say in all your time you've been working, what's the funniest case you've come across?
I'm trying to think of a funny one, really. I mean, I worked in like Luton Town Centre, so you did have like a few situations where like. You know, I don't know if funny is the word, but like, you know, students who weren't actively working or bringing in an income, wondering if they can get a mortgage. It's like, that shouldn't be funny, because like, they should know that they can't, but like, you know, in a lot of ways it's like, well, you know, like you want to buy a £150,000 house, but you're earning £1,500 a year, like, it's not like...
It's not adding up.
I think the joke is more like the education setting that a lot of us like grew up in, the fact that you never actually learn any skills about how any of that's gonna work, man. Like
actual life.
In school, when did they ever talk about housing? When did they ever talk about mortgages?
That's literally what I was about to say. Is like, the more important things in life, we never get taught them in school.
Teach me Pythagoras theorem. When am I ever using Pythagoras theorem in life?
Virtual.
I tell you, I didn't as a mortgage advisor.
Did you actually?
No, of course not.
You just said no.
No, but I'm saying.
Oh right,
you know, like. You know, you're working with numbers every day. You got a better calculator in front of you. What you know, like.
What else do you need to do, really? Like,
you know, a lot. You know, like it's good to be able to just work out numbers off the top of your head, like percentages and stuff. But otherwise, like, it's not helping you with your taxes most of the time. Or like, you know, the rate of taxes if you take certain benefits from like employment and stuff like that. You get to that stage. I mean, you know, we were talking about like the average house price, 287. You know, like if you wanted to buy that kind of house, like the kind of ratios we're looking at, like 4.5 times income. That's kind of what you're looking at if you want to borrow from a bank.
So how much roughly?
I was about to say, what's like an example of that?
So if you're on about 60 grand a year between you and your partner, you know, working in a combined household, that still wouldn't buy you your average house. No,
so you and your partner need to bring in over 60 grand.
Yeah, I think it's about 63 grand to buy that average house. Yeah, with a 5% deposit, which is minimum, so 15k. Plus, you need about 4 or 5k in fees. So.
Wow. So you reckon, and that goes back to what Kieran said.
It's awful, man.
So you're paying nearly like 75k.
Like,
what's the average deposit these days? Is it 15 grand?
If it's 5% of like.
That's what I mean. 5% of like if we said 300 grand, you know, closest whole. You know, you are.
I think majority of people pay about 15 grand for an average house, and this is an average house, and this obviously it varies where it is in the country. But would you say this is a 3-bed more or less?
Well, you know, in a lot of London, you probably wouldn't be getting a studio for that. Like, you know, if you're out in like North UK, you could probably get a hell of a lot more than that. But you know, where we are in Luton, you know, a couple of years ago, you were looking at like a 3-bed in Marsh for like you know, for like 150, 100k, like nowadays you are probably looking more to those figures, and that's only since like COVID, because a lot of people moved out of London and stuff. Like, we saw the house prices jump massively. People like over like we were advertising the house for one price, and people literally, because I work for an estate agent, right? I should have really explained that before going on to that story. Like, a lot of the mortgage advisors work is the businesses are attached to an estate agent. So you go to your estate agent and say, I want to buy that house. They go, well, you go and talk to my buddy out the back room, like some.
And then that's where you made the money.
And that's where you make, you know, and the estate agent's not making so much money. It's the dude in the back room making all the finance decisions in the branch.
So you're making the money.
Making the money, yeah. So you know, like.
I was going to say in a minute, like James, I was talking to him at work. He has a crazy story. He worked in finance, man, about these people. Crazy, and you have to tell. You can tell him that or whenever, man. But it's crazy, man.
Oh God, I don't know which one you're referring to.
Many like that.
The one, like, the people like earning money and stuff. Like, there was a guy there, young guy. Was he 24 or something?
Yeah, that was like after them. Like, I dropped out of mortgage advising about January this year after taking some time. I had basically what was quite a bad accident in August last year. So it left me out of work for quite a few months on holiday. I was basically on holiday in Germany and smacked my head quite badly. My little brother. Yeah, it didn't really feel it till I got home, and then it kind of kicked in. I was like, crap.
I'm in a bit of pain.
Yeah, this is a bit of an issue. So obviously I took a few months off, and then in January decided, you know what, I'm going to back out of this and I'm going to go look at something different. And basically went into like this business to business finance firm. And the idea is, what I wasn't quite as aware of at the time was like, you go into the business and you spend all day just calling random businesses saying, do you want money, do you want money, do you want money? In a nicer way, obviously. For like vans, scaffolding, you know, you name it, any distillery.
So it's like smaller businesses.
Essentially, just asking them if they, and it isn't a bank, they're another intermediary firm that's basically asking them if they want money, and then going to a lender and saying, if I charge them this amount, you know, what will you expect as an interest rate, basically, like, to see what profit margins they can get out of it.
So when they start, they're basically not starting with any money themselves.
No. They're literally just like getting loans from, basically doing what I was doing as a mortgage advisor, but for businesses, lending money. And, you know, you're talking about them essentially setting the rate, because they're saying, if I want to make X amount of money, I've got to charge the customer X amount of money, because the bank's going to want X amount in interest in return. So you get to set the rate effectively still, but it's like, how much can I get out of this dude in the quickest, easiest way, and then you want to befriend them, and then, you know, if you can build up a relationship, you want to be doing a better deal than everyone else if you can be, because otherwise why the hell would they use you? But you know, it's still about getting that most amount out of the customer.
So the game's slimy.
It's all about that, man. It's all about that. You got like
just that extra pocket change.
Yeah, man. Like 20-year-old dudes who've like got, you know, again, like, nothing against them. Like, a lot of those dudes were like good, hard-working guys, man. I literally lost a week there sitting on the phone ringing these businesses, them turning around, fucking, you know, saying shit to you and being like, can you get the fuck, delete this number, you know, like all of that. Man, like. You know, there's only so much, and if you're calling like builders every day, there's a different breed of like cold calling, man. Like, they're not on it, man. Man.
Stress.
4 o'clock on a Friday. You call those boys at 4 o'clock on a Friday, bro. They're in the pub. They're gonna fucking want to smack the shit out of you. So, you know, man. Like, I lost a week there. Those boys are some resilient motherfuckers, man. Like, I don't know how they do it, but like, I mean, if you're willing, like, those dudes are earning like fucking 30 grand a month kind of money, like, if they're doing good business. You don't need qualifications for that kind of stuff. It's all about that kind of personality that you have.
Personality, if you look after and stuff, innit?
Exactly, man. Like,
what in the finance thing?
Yeah, man. Like, so I love this stuff. Like,
so when them loan companies just call your phone, is that you?
Yeah, that's what that job was basically.
I feel like if you're a smooth talker, you can do it to anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're good at speaking to people, coalescing people, you can do it.
It's true though, isn't it?
Yeah, man. Like,
bear in mind, I tell people my voice is finished right now, so I'm done mad, but
mad one yesterday. But what was you saying?
Yeah, I just think like with a lot of those businesses, like those dudes were earning so much money. They're in their 20s. That like they can just do whatever the fuck they want. Of course, they're like encouraged to do that kind of stuff. Like, you know, there is a moral issue with a lot of this stuff because of course, like, there is always someone losing out. So
who actually loses out then?
The person who you actually...
Everyone else, man. Like, everyone else. Because, like, this customer in a lot of instances, like that commission's coming from somewhere, right? Like the customer's probably paying it in one respect or another, because otherwise why the hell would so like a lot of this stuff isn't necessarily taking advantage of the client, but like,
So what, even if they every month they're paying the loan off, they're still taking a loss somehow.
Yeah, like effectively, whether it's, of course, like that's how these businesses work.
Yeah.
Like they're making huge profits. Like bankers' profits are, like bonuses and stuff like that are higher than ever. It's not just the banks though. You've got like the gas companies, the energy companies, petrol companies. Everyone's making more money than they ever have before.
And indirectly, it's fucking up all of us.
Effectively, there's always someone losing out, man. Like, and it is everyone else. Like. And I think that's, we ended up in the warehouse, man, because it's I don't have any moral, like, obligations folding boxes in a warehouse, but sitting opposite, like, a young couple in Luton trying to get a mortgage who are, like, on a combined income of 25 grand a year, like, please, can we have a house? Like, it's such a hard position to be in, because, like, for a lot of people, that's reality a lot of the time at the moment.
And then to turn that person down...
man.
Within your heart they're working.
That's the thing, man. Like as a company, of course, they're going to encourage you to get those people as far away from the business as fast as possible. So, even if there was potential, if you sat down and worked it long enough, why would you ever do that? Because some other person is going to walk through the door in 2 hours, who's going to take 5 minutes to run up on because it's literally like a comparison site for mortgage advisors as well, right? Like we're not doing anything magic. It is literally like type in the incomes and stuff like that into a calculator.
And then it will show
you basically like go compare.
Exactly, but that's sold to private corporations and updated literally as and when the banks change their rates. So
how often do the banks change their rates then?
All the time. Like they can do it on a daily basis if they want to, but it's all just about like a bank will literally like shove up their interest rates because they've got high wait times, because they've taken in a lot of applications because they've had low interest rates for a little while. So it's like, oh god, like Virgin's got like a really good rate on this week, so I'm going to submit all of my guys to Virgin because they're going to get done real quick and at a good rate because my customers aren't going to go next door. Virgin get backed up, so they're like, okay, I need to now put my rate up massively. Like,
just like that.
Yeah, man, it can just be like that. It's not like there's any, there can be logic to it based, like right now the base rate's just gone up. A lot of banks are cutting back their rates. It's not like it necessarily always tracks, but right now the rate's going up and up and up for us as young people. We can be paying a hell of a lot more than we would have done a few years ago when it was already unmanageable for a lot of people. But again, there's always some profit in, and it's definitely not us right now. So.
That is hard. So you're saying basically people need to earn over 30 grand. Majority of people need to earn over 30 grand to buy a house as it is already. What's what would you say like the worst thing when young people are buying a house that they do? Like trying to advise them on that?
It's a hard one because the only way really as a young person buying a house is like having a rich family member really. A lot of young people, even with an average salary of 30 grand a year, they're probably paying rent if they're not living with their parents. A lot of people don't have that luxury, parents don't have that luxury a lot of the time, let alone the kids are just renting. So if you're paying like $900 to $1,200 to £1,500 a month in rent and you're earning an average salary,
and then you've got to save and you've got to live.
You want to save 15, 20 grand to pay 5% down. It will take a hell of a long time, and if you have a kid, God forbid, you're done, man. Like it won't give you any chance. And I think like if we're looking at average salaries, like I think the median average is about 33,000 across the UK, average salary. The mean is I think about 25, 26, the actual average salary, and a lot of taking in the extremes there. And I think when you're looking at it from that angle, for a lot of people there isn't really much of a chance at the moment, unless these house prices do crash.
Well, and why would they crash though?
Well, at the moment, house prices are falling. Like we said, there's 600,000 houses empty. Eventually,
they got to afford to.
Yeah, man. Like they've been going up so high in the last few years. Like eventually, someone's going to catch on and be like, okay, we may want to slow down now.
Because
that's faster buying as well.
Man. But what we got to remember is like, for those people that have been able to actually work and save that deposit money, they've gone out, they bought their dream home, they're paying off a couple £100 off their capital each month, to actually reduce that balance to the bank. The house price is full, oh shit, they now owe the bank more money than their house is worth. Like, and like I managed to, with my partner and my dad buy a property a couple of years ago, and we got money off my grandparents, like everyone basically. Helped us move in and get our furniture, and we did all of that, and now we're thinking, well, if the house prices fall, we could effectively lose all of that in return. And for a lot of people, and
at a young age, taking that step as well.
And I was even going to say, so you're obviously thinking about that because you're in the industry. If I was to try and buy a house now, I am not thinking about, the houses might crash. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just trying to pattern the furniture.
You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to shout
you can work really hard. You go get that property that's your first, and you settle in, you love it. You have a couple of kids and you realise, oh shit, I need another bedroom, and then you want to go. The house prices have gone up maybe, or they've gone down,
so
and you're
lose,
in that.
For example, 20. Like, would you ever say it would get as bad as you could lose 20% of your, what your house is worth?
Like they're talking about like 10, 12, maybe more % at the moment. Like,
so you buy your house for 300 grand, you lose basically £30,000. More or less, innit?
Yeah, man.
The value of your house, innit? Yeah.
Or if you look at it from the fact that they bought it like 5-6 years ago, and they've made even more off that. They're now thinking, okay, if I sell my property, I paid this much off my mortgage, my house is increased by this much. That's effectively like their money, I guess you could say.
Okay, cool.
How much they're worth as people, between them, and then actually the prices come down again. Their options then limited when they want to move as well. For anyone who owns, you're almost hoping that the prices keep going up. For anyone that doesn't, you need them to drop right now. Otherwise,
it's literally a pyramid scheme. Everything.
It's like everyone's. It's like
it's a circle just going round and round. Like someone's losing, someone's gaining.
Yeah, but that's how it always is, isn't it? If someone's winning, or someone's always going to be losing.
Indirectly,
isn't it? So it's always going to be like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it has to be that way with a lot of these things. Cause I think like the big problem is education in a lot of senses. Like we said about it before, like how we're not taught properly at school about these things.
You never ever taught about it at school. It's mad.
Yeah, man.
Like they should teach you actual life skills.
Yeah. But as we said already, it's like if they teach you that, a lot of people who are making that type of money aren't going to be making anymore because you already know what you're doing. So it's a problem.
So you've got people who are actively against that in a sense because they're like, well, how am I going to ever survive if that happens? Like I said, you're not really, as a mortgage advisor, you've got a CMAP. That makes you a mortgage advisor. It doesn't really make you anything else. You're not necessarily going to be good at anything else. But you can't be an accountant with a CMAP. Like it's not transferable necessarily to the rest of the industry. So for a lot of those, there are a lot of concerns right now about these sort of like online presences becoming a lot more apparent and driving people out. But people will always want to sit in front of someone, I think, and actually talk about it.
100%.
But I think when you're making so much money through them. Through them anyway without the fees that you're charging. Like a lot of the time charging these people isn't necessary to the profits of the company in a lot of ways. I think that would definitely help. And actually like when the client sits in front of you, the idea being educate them to what they should be doing. Not, well, how can I keep them uneducated?
So I can keep basically using
so I can keep milking that, and actually have value in what you're doing.
So what advice would you give to like you're moving to your next house then? So as you just said, as you were talking about, it might go down, it might go up. So what's your advice regarding that?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different options. Like if you're on a good income and you've got a nice amount of savings, like a lot of people are against landlords at the moment. For obvious reasons. We're talking about we're talking about how much the house prices are. I mean, there is a lot on landlords that we can go into, which is probably something for later on, but. I think that a good option for a lot of people later on in life is maybe buy another property with the savings that they have behind them, rent out the one they were previously living in, or if you're sort of earlier on, you do need a bit of money behind you because obviously if you're selling your property, you want to upscale, you need to consider the deposit you're putting down on the next property. You're paying 2 lots of solicitors' fees because you've got to pay for the sale of the property and the purchase because you need some dude to sit there and fill in the paperwork for you and charge you $2,500. We're in that position where everything's so complicated. That's what you have to do is pay somebody $2,500 to do that for you. like a lot of those things have to be considered, but also if you're looking at areas and stuff like that, like if you're looking at staying in the same area and you want to upscale, your best bet might be putting an extension on, because I mean, like if we go up to like, you know, stamp duty and stuff like that, like you could be paying a hell of a lot of money in stamp duty if you're purchasing like a property of a decent value, like especially in London when you're looking at like 500,000, 600,000, 700 grand, like, you know, when you're going up in those kind of prices, you're looking at a hell of a lot of money in tax, you're looking at stamp duties. We were talking about the, you know, the mortgage advisors fees, like you are talking about saving a lot of money on top.
So say for example, okay, cool, say I'm 23, 24 right now, I'm earning just over 30 grand a year, I've got like 15 grand saved for example, and I want to buy a house. What would you tell me? Like, what's like the steps, procedures? What would you tell me?
So he comes to you with that pitch.
Yeah, I'm coming with you with that pitch.
I think the first thing you would do is start looking at the kind of properties in the area.
Okay, cool, yeah.
You know, I think if you're getting an idea around what the kind of values are that you're looking at, whether you're looking at 1, 2, 3 bedrooms, you know, looking at the kind of size and the value you want, I think next step is probably going and speaking to a mortgage advisor.
Okay,
like, you know, maybe not one that's charging you 600 quid or one that's, you know, charging you 1,500 quid, but, you know, shopping around and finding someone that can actually...
So you would still recommend to people use them?
Yeah, I definitely think it's worth speaking to an advisor. I think it's more... You know, I don't think mortgage advisors are people are evil. You know, I think that, you know, if you don't know how to do it yourself, there isn't any way of really, you know, doing it yourself. You know, your other option is literally going down to all of the lenders or going on Go Compare, which will still take a fee. You know, like you can do that research yourself and find out which one is going to be the cheapest option for me. But if you go to an advisor, they are obligated to find you the cheapest deal possible, you know, in terms of the mortgage. I think a lot of it is, you know, maybe be sceptical around the insurance that they're offering you and any additions, like, you know, solicitors. It's a massive, massive issue. For every business I worked with, they're, you know, conveyancers, solicitors, the people that do the paperwork. You know, we would have to recommend those people to our customers. They would then use them. We would get a big commission as a company for doing that referral. Obviously, if it's with the same company, we're making that profit because they're paying our conveyancers. And they would be like the industry's worst. Like it couldn't... Like if you looked up their reviews 5 minutes before the mortgage advisor pitched it, you would punch them in the face. Like, absolutely dreadful at what they do. And actually, you're probably paying a premium for using them as well because they're in-house and they're going to be really fast and convenient. And a lot of the time, if you know, Google them, you're going to find out they're really not. But, you know, once you're signing that paperwork and starting to pay your money...
And that's the thing, in that moment, you're not thinking about all of that.
No, it's like, I met this really nice man, and he's gonna solve all my problems, and he's definitely not taking advantage of me in any way, shape or form. So I think when you know, I hate to say it, but be suspicious, you know, in a lot of ways. Like,
so would, like, for a heads up then, for, say I'm to go in that position, something I should look out for?
People are overly friendly.
I think they're salesmen, they're always going to be overly friendly. The estate agent you speak to, the mortgage advisor, you know, you walk into your bank, they're going to be overly friendly. Like,
they hang up the phone, they hang up the phone and he's like, what a prick.
Yeah, exactly.
He's probably thinking you're an idiot.
Or you push their buttons enough, they'll say it to you as well. It's great. Like, they are just like, they are very angry a lot of the time. Like, estate agents especially, they're great. Like, with a lot of it, I think it is just like, if they talk to you about insurance, if they talk to you about conveyances, if they talk to you about any of those things, you know, it's great, you know, that their service might be valuable. So I think it's about not jumping to it, maybe taking it home, doing your own research. I think be very suspicious about the fees that you're being, you know, you're paying.
Stuff,
You know, if you are asking, you know, if you are going to use them, ask for a full sheet of the charges that they're going to charge you, because actually, like, a lot of them may be hidden. So, you know, you'll be told, oh, it's 560 quid or a grand or whatever it'll be, and actually it'll be like an extra £100 for this check, and
they just pocket in the rest of that.
Well, I think a lot of it, like, you do have like government checks that have to be done that they charge for, but like some of it might be like, oh, I had to fill in one extra contract, so you've got to pay an extra 60 quid. Like, it is as simple as that, and then those charges do rack up, and you pay a lot of money in the end. I think, you know, again, like, people talk about things like getting, like, when you want to buy a house with, you know, for a mortgage, the mortgage lender's going to want what's called a valuation. So that's basically just checking the house to see how much it's worth. And then they can break that down into like 3 different checks effectively. Like, you've got a drive-by, which, you know, Luton was an issue. Yeah, they basically just drive by, park outside for a second, and then like have a look at from the outside. Yeah, when you're telling customers about that in Luton, they always, hey,
got you now, bro.
They probably won't even get out of their car like a lot of the time. The second one is they will probably get out of their car, maybe do a ring around the house and then go off. And then the third is they'll actually go into the house, spend 10 minutes looking around it, and then they'll bugger off. Like, it's not really in depth.
And this is actually like to evaluate how much the house is worth.
Yeah, literally. They're not
checking how your parking space is, how the area is when they walk around.
They probably won't even walk around the area. They'll just Google it when they get home. Like, a lot of these people are probably local as well. They've got access to like different ways of like checking what's happened in the area, like how much the other houses have sold for recently in that area, and they basically just tell you how much they think the house is worth. And obviously the bank don't really care about what the house is worth for your benefit, that you're getting overcharged. Like, you can still pay 20 grand above the asking price or what the valuation is or whatever. Like, you say that, man. Like, crazy. In Luton, bruv, like in the middle of the pandemic, people were so desperate to buy up like Marsh Farm and those kind of houses out of the city that people were literally offering like 45 grand above asking prices on like houses worth 200k, man.
What?
Like 20% above asking price.
Well, why?
Because they were so desperate to get a cheap house with a commutable distance to Luton, to London, man. Like, and a lot of these people are looking to upsize because their kids are spending more time at home. They're in these situations where they're like, where can I actually afford to buy now? And so it does mean like places outside of London, like our areas, have had an increase of people come. But also, people in our areas have actually thought like, we're spending way more time with family. Maybe I don't want to be living with them until I'm 30.
So all of this stuff is factored in.
Yeah, man.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So, even when pandemic happened, all the uni students that now said, I'm not doing
I'm just going home.
I'm staying at home, fuck that.
I've spoken to some people, and they talk about they never want to buy. They're always just going to rent for the rest of their lives. What do you think about that? Would you reckon that's a way that people could live now? The fact that they're so expensive.
The problem, sorry to cut you, I think the problem our society has is we're always trying to find loopholes, isn't it?
Our society.
That's all the best out, man.
No, but deep. Man's saying rent for the rest of his life, but until you listen to something like this, you don't know the benefits and the negatives.
Yeah.
That's where researching your own stuff, getting to know.
And that's what I'm saying. So some people have said that they think they're just going to rent for the rest of their lives because they're going to have to find 15 grand out of pocket. When they could use that 15 grand to do something else. Yeah, obviously, you could probably make enough money to buy the whole thing, but some people just want to rent for the rest of their lives.
I mean, the thing is, we've been brought up in a society that like there are certain stages to life, right? Like, you grow up, you go to school. When you go from school, you maybe meet your missus, or you go and meet your partner. You go and then buy a house. You then go and have kids. If you mix any of them up in a separate order, like one or two of them's maybe alright. But like people start looking if you like having kids right at the bottom, and then like we're ingrained in this ladder where you want to do these in this order, man. Matrix. But actually, like, if you look outside of the UK, like it's not really how it works. Like, a lot of Europe does rent. Like, most people in Europe aren't thinking when they're growing up like, I want to own my own home in a lot of ways, because it may be ideal, but for a lot of them, like, a lot of those countries have heavy like legislation on renting and landlords, and so people aren't that against renting because it's like, well, actually I can afford to rent. House prices are a lot more money, so if I don't rent, there's no real advantage to me, and actually when I'm older, I'm going to get looked after still, so I'm still going to be able to pay that rent, and here that's maybe not as guaranteed. You probably won't be able to afford your rent as you're getting older. You probably will have to move because actually your pension's probably not going to cover that 50 or 60.
Because I was going to say, would your pension even cover your rent in your house alone, let alone your living?
No, probably, unless you're in council. Maybe if you're lucky, you can afford to pay your rent, but you're not eating well. You're not paying your gas and electric properly. You're not going to buy at 60 unless you've got a good amount of money behind you because you're never getting a mortgage. Like that, if you get to 50 and you haven't bought already, you either need most of the money for the house or you're not buying. Because you're not getting a mortgage for 25, for 20 years.
You're not really working for 25 years.
No, like a bank will give you a mortgage till you're 70 if you can if you can convince them you can work till you're 70 a lot of the time.
So some people have to work to that age.
Yeah, man.
And that's the problem, isn't it?
If not further,
further than 70 years old.
Yeah.
There are some banks that will take a mortgage to 75 working age.
Yeah, that's evil. that's pure evil.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
So imagine the work is quick, pushing a tram.
But forget that. Yeah, you imagine you could be a grafter. You're still on a building site.
A labourer or something.
A labourer. 60.
Fuck.
Yeah, man. That's why you get man staying in jobs for 40, 50 years.
Yeah, man.
You used to, man. It's not really a reality anymore. Like a lot of people's jobs now aren't going to be here in 40, 50 years.
Yeah, big facts.
I think our generation has to consider a little more than our previous one did, because for us it's not going to be the same as them. Like if the house prices do fall, we watch our parents, our grandparents lose everything they worked for all their lives. If they don't fall, we can never afford to buy them. You've got grandkids hoping that their grandparents are going to drop dead because they might get a deposit for a house because it's the only way they're ever going to do it. Like, I don't think we should be in that position. Or even in a lot of other areas. And again, like, I think it does depend on culture. Is like people are happy living with their parents for longer now. That isn't that strange for a lot of people in this country anymore. And if you are looking at it from that perspective, well, actually, we're going to live in this society where like people are cramming into like one bedroom and like I don't think that's necessarily something that we want to be working towards either. That we're all happy in that situation, living with our parents until we're 40 or until we're having kids later, or whatever that life stage is. I do think everyone should be able to purchase a house at some point in their life. And it does have to be affordable, but I don't think it's necessarily about bringing house prices down. I think it's about bringing like the average person's wage up in a way that's not necessarily just saying we're going to increase the minimum wage so loads of businesses go bankrupt, but actually maybe putting more money into the country through ways of like, we were talking about the biggest bonuses in history for like bankers and those, like there are certain windfall taxes in place.
So quickly, so you see how you're saying bankers are going to have some of the biggest bonuses. Is that like an incentive for people to get more into banking? Or is it just because they're making more money?
Well, I think it's, when we're talking about bankers, when we're talking about any of the oil companies, like the petrol companies, anyone working within those kind of industries, like there are obviously moral disagreements between us and them in a lot of instances, but like I don't think they're necessarily concerned about the average person becoming a banker and making lots of money. I think they're more interested in like how much they can make in their bonuses, which back in 2008 for those crises was essentially like it was capped by the EU and by the UK government to stop those people basically making really risky decisions to make the most amount of profit, to make the most amount of bonuses. And yet we're in a position now where I think they capped it like a certain amount above their annual wage. So what banks did is just shoved up their annual wage, so then they can make their bonuses back because actually they're making more money off their basics. So you're talking about British loving loopholes. That's exactly how the industry works. It's all just like I don't think it's about like enticing people into the industry. I think it's about making as much as you physically can in as short a period of time as possible.
Say for example, like the average house price said was 287. Say
Say
someone had that money in their bank account right now, a whole lot. Would you say buy the house outright, or is that a stupid thing to do? What would you sort of say?
It's like a moral issue again, really, because you have 300k sat in your bank account, 287k. You could probably go and buy 3 or 4 houses if you've got a decent amount of income behind you. Because I said about being a landlord, the way being a landlord works a lot of the time is you need 20 to 25% deposit behind you. You're going to be paying a hell of a lot more in stamp duty because it's an additional property, so you need that. Solicitors and your mortgage advisor. If you got those fees behind you, what you do is you take out an interest-only mortgage.
Interest-only mortgage, okay.
So if you're buying a 300k house, you might need to put 20% down. You're talking 60k. You pay your fees. You're talking maybe 70, 80k. You're borrowing 220k from the bank.
But
you never ever pay that money back. You're maybe paying them £300-400 a month in interest to maintain that loan, and you'll be doing that for 20-25 years. But the house price will keep going up. So you'll own more and more of that house.
Yeah.
So what? 300.
Paying £400. So let's say 400, innit?
So 400, and you said monthly.
Yeah, monthly.
And you're paying that for like 25 years.
Well, you could be paying that like 25, 30. It depends how old you are. You could have that till you're 90 if you wanted to.
Yeah, okay, cool.
You know, like it's just as long as you want to own that property and you want to keep maintaining that loan.
And then the people who are renting, would they effectively pay that loan off?
Well, they're paying that and a huge chunk of profit because they're probably paying £1,200 a month for that house.
Yeah, and you're paying
120 grand.
It was what you pay over how long?
That's over. What did you say again?
Is it 30 years?
over 30 years,
over 30, 20. I did 25, innit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how much it'd be.
You did 25 years?
Yeah, 25 years.
Yeah, so you might pay like the bank 120 grand over that. So obviously the bank's making money off of loaning you that 200 grand.
So effectively you're also like kind of the middle person, would you say again?
You're effectively the dude in the middle and like because you're taking the risk of that ownership of that property, you're getting like £800 a month profit because your tenants are paying £1,200
per house per month.
Yeah, and you could own multiple houses, and obviously the house prices are going up, so your rent's going up in turn. But your mortgage amount isn't going up because you still owe the bank the same amount of money, and you will do for the next 200 years.
That is crazy.
Exactly.
No wonder so many people enter property.
And this is it. Like if you own a house already and you paid half of it off, why the would you sell it? You can just buy another house, take some money out of your house, buy another house, and now make a fuck ton of profit off of it. So you know, like it's easy to hate landlords because of what they're doing, but it's not.
So much money.
Yeah, like if any of us were in the situation where we could do it, it
the
wouldn't
job
be.
of an actual landlord is to just keep basically the house maintenance.
Keep someone in the bloody
but
house.
More people,
Yeah.
more time people just pay people to do that anyway.
Oh yeah, it's like a management company thing, isn't
So
it?
You're basically doing nothing.
This is the most fucked up thing about all of it. You go into the estate agents, you buy your house, and you decide you want to rent it out, right?
Yeah.
You got the letting agents who are going to rent it out for you,
Yeah.
working in the same agents. The mortgage advisor's working in the back office, who's doing your mortgage for you. So the company's probably all three of those in the chain. So you're buying a house and paying a fee. You're then paying some dude to manage that house for you, and then you've also paid some dude to actually arrange the finance of it for you. So you're not doing any of that fucking shit.
Nothing. Yeah.
You're just throwing some money at some dudes and telling them to go and work, and they're doing everything else for you.
And then the rich get richer.
Yeah.
And the rich get, but like I said, like if people were more educated about this, like it probably wouldn't work because all of us would be fucking doing it, right? Like you know, it's easy to hate on these people, but like actually, if you think about it, could I have an extra £800 a month passive income from buying another house?
Yeah, 100%.
Well, fuck yes, I'm gonna do that. That's half my mortgage payment in my new house, right? Like you're not gonna just pay the mortgage on my old house. You're gonna pay half my mortgage on my new house, fucker. Like that's the way it works.
Allow you to have more money to get another house.
To get another house.
And then another house.
But what?
And
again, like we're not considering the fact those two houses are now going to go up in value hopefully over the next 5-10 years.
And you're still paying one
of the houses that you're living off.
Of
the other one's still staying the same, but you've now bridged that gap even bigger. So you own 25%, but now you own 40%. You take that 15% off, take it back down to 25%. So your mortgage payment goes up slightly, but now you've got an extra 15%. You take some money out of the house you live in, you've now got your 25%. Yeah, your mortgage payments have gone up, but yeah, fucking hell, you got another dude paying you £1,500 a month for another third house. Like, and it doesn't get till like 6 properties where you're starting to get into like portfolio work, where if you then form a limited company and start putting all your houses in that limited company, you're going to get really good tax benefits. Where you wouldn't, so you're not taking it as an income, you're taking it as a dividend. So you're paying capital gains and corporation tax. So, you know, like, as you're building up your portfolio, like, anyone can do this if you manage to get one.
Businesses pay less taxes. Now you've got 6 houses. Okay.
I've been knowing bare man with bare houses, I'm thinking, but why?
Exactly, you flush it through a limited, mate, and you're not just doing your company, you're now doing your management as well, because you've hired some, you know, a girl to work in an office somewhere.
She runs all of this.
And she runs all of this shit for you, and you're paying her $18,000 a year.
You're
like
paying golf on a Thursday.
Yeah, you're paying golf on Thursday. Your 6 houses are making you fucking $12,000 a month, and you're paying $3,000 a month in mortgage payments.
So. And to start
£3,000 is so calm with that income as well.
Yeah.
You never work again.
So basically, to start this whole process up, the main thing is like buying that first house.
Yeah,
because that's the hardest thing to do, isn't it?
But also, like, the property price is not crashing. Because you can do all of that. You can have this great plan in mind. You buy a house and then it's like, shit, I've lost all that money I invested. Like,
the house is not working.
It's a gamble like everything else. But if you're putting your money in crypto, like... like the fucking there's risk factors here, right? Like you're not gonna put.
I don't think there's anything that will make you a stupid amount of money without a risk. There's literally nothing.
No, you're right.
I see one thing the other day. It was like the stock market versus like property prices, and it said if you had money in property, it's way better than having it in the stock market and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
There's a thing.
Well, if you look at the price of a house, probably like 20 years ago compared to now.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Fucked.
Yeah, man. But the question is it going to be the same in 20 years' time?
Yeah,
because
we don't know, innit?
like, if you spoke to a mortgage advisor, right, during the pandemic, when I first qualified, right, I had no experience in the industry, and I'm telling dudes, like, you know, I've been working in mortgages for 2 years, because I've been working in mortgage admin for 2 years. Like, you know, there are levels to, like, you coming into this with experience, and you're still sat across from a 45-year-old dude who's asking you for advice. And I've just read from a textbook, man, and just got this job last week. Like, you know, like, and you've got to be that salesman. You've got to talk that talk. Like, I think for us, we got it so wrong with how the pandemic was going to end. You know, with interest rates coming down, you know, everyone get on 2-year fixed rates, because in 2 years' time it's going to be really good. All the property prices are going to be really high, and you can remortgage and take your money out. And you know, you've had some kids.
That sounds like the perfect plan, but in reality, is that actually what happened? No.
2 years later, the interest rate's going up and up and up and up. You're now paying double, triple the amount of money that I sold you 2 years ago. Like, for a lot of people, that's the reality, because actually the entire industry is saying 2-year fixed rates, 2-year fixed rates, 5-year fixed rates for those that are suited to it, like people who are going to stay in that house for longer. But for like 22, 23, 25-year-olds moving into their first home with no kids, 2 years' time, you're probably going to have a kid running around, like, if you're lucky, you know, like, that might be your future. You're probably going to want to sit down and go through your finances again, right? Like, and pay me more money, right? Like, and it's all about that. Like, when in this life cycle am I going to be able to strike again? Because it's going to suit them and it's going to suit me. Which, again, you know, you can't say that's always a bad system if it benefits both. But, like, if you're paying 600 quid out of pocket for that, knowing the dude's going to make 4.5 grand anyway, that to me feels like cheating. And obviously, like, if some dude does sit in front of you and they can't do it yet, just telling them to get the fuck out the office, rather than sitting down to them and explaining, yeah, man, you're not in this position right now, but give me a couple of weeks, we'll talk about how to go through this. Like, we can work to that. Like, I think a lot of people would benefit in the public, but also, like, you're going to make money because they're going to come back to you. And I don't understand, like, obviously that's all about time, and obviously you want to take as little time as possible. But I just think it's how it all works at the moment, man, with those kind of rates.
Well, so all I'm hearing really is the richer just get richer. Like, it's really, the way it's set up is crazy. Yeah, honestly.
So,
man.
In terms of obviously you being in mortgage advising and all of that, in terms of when you was moving house, when you got your house, how was that process for you?
Well, to be fair, like, I only started doing it like a few months into being a mortgage advisor. Like, I had no idea really how to go about it from that point of view. Because, like, if you're advising people on their mortgages and you never even thought about doing it yourself, let alone done it, like, so, you know, I was quite lucky. We got the money together. You know, like I said, me and my partner, and my dad, you know, clubbed together to buy that house. We ended up spending like 40 or K, like, to buy that first time.
Damn.
It was a ton of money. Like, it took a lot of saving, it took a lot of people you know, like, helping. But even, like, as a mortgage advisor, like, it was hard. I paid a mortgage advisor to do my mortgage for me, right? Like, because I can't legally do my own mortgage as a mortgage advisor, and I probably would have preferred someone with a few years experience above me to do it for me. Like, you know, and I still paid a solicitor. I still had to do all those same things. But what I also knew was, like, the estate agents were probably ripping me off. Everyone's probably ripping me off at some point along the stage. Like,
you have to just firm it.
Man. Like, you know, like, in a lot of situations, you can go in and you can negotiate on the house price. But, like, back then you couldn't, because someone else is going to come in and pay 20 grand above the asking price. So you're not going to say to them, I'm going to pay you 10 grand less, because actually
They know they're going to get the 20 grand.
Yeah, man. Like, but now we're getting into a situation again where people are a little bit more concerned about what the prices are doing.
Yeah.
You know, those deals will start to become more apparent, and actually getting back out and talking again about the prices is probably going to be, you know, something we'd start doing more. But yeah, man, if I was going to do it again, I'd say, like I said, go in and talk to all those people, just be wary about what they're charging in all. Like, that's basically what I did, is I paid, you know, a friend of mine to do my mortgage for a different company. I didn't even do it from my own company, because I was like, I don't want them reading my shit. You know, like, when
to pay you and stuff now.
It's not just that, like, it's really invasive, man. Like, being a mortgage advisor, like, if you came into my office, I'd be asking you for, like, at least 3 to 6 months bank statements out of every account you have. So I know everything you're spending, everything you're withdrawing. Like, I ask you for all your pay slips. If you're an agency worker, that could be fucking a whole year's worth of pay slips. So I know every penny you've earned.
Crazy.
I'm going to be asking you all sorts of bloody questions from anything from like, you know, how long you've been with your partner to like what your plans are with your kids and stuff like that. If you're going to be having kids, when's Gran going to die? You know, do you think you're going to be getting any inheritance when she drops dead anytime soon? Like, stuff like that. It is quite, like, you are getting into a lot of detail with it. So, like, I probably don't want the dude that I'm going to be seeing at, like, a works drink party next week, reading all of that shit and, like, learning all that shit. Because, like, as far as the bank's concerned, like, if we fuck something up, they're going to just, like, they can just blacklist you from using them. So, like, you get blacklisted from HSBC or Halifax, no mortgage company's going to hire you because you can't advise on Halifax anymore. You know, so, like, you're now no longer a mortgage advisor. Like,
so wait,
I was even going to ask, I was going to ask quickly, what are the things that, if you see on like a bank statement that you're like, I'm not giving you a mortgage because of that, you could afford it, but they've seen the stuff like, what will be like certain stuff you might have purchased, like maybe gambling or whatever.
That is literally
that's
like,
a big one,
that was going to be the first thing I say. Like, if you're spending like a tenner a week on fucking Betfred or whatever, like, that's not going to harm your chances really. Like, we're talking people, and there are a lot of people who are like compulsively spending a lot of their salary each month on shit like this. You know, but it you know, it isn't just that. Like, if you're spending anything excessively, I will have to talk to you about it in some respect, because we've got to fill out like a budget planner together. Like, you're going to tell me how much money you spend on fucking food each week, whether that's takeaways, you know, Domino's, whatever it is. Like, you're going to be telling me how much you spend on everything. I've then got to make sure that matches up to how much you're spending. So, like, if you've got fucking 50 quid going out on OnlyFans each month, I'm going to fucking know and have to put down, you've got 50 quid a month going out on fucking OnlyFans each month, bro. Like, that is going to be on your file now, because, like, we're talking about, you know, like, regular payments coming out. I've got to factor that into your budget each month. That is the level of detail. Like, if you're a smoker, not only am I going to have to think about how many fags you're smoking each day, but how much that's going to cost you each day, and each week, each month.
That's crazy.
We're then talking about your life insurance, so you can fuck off about that, because, like, you're not going to get any. Like, a lot of that is just about, like, encouraging people to, you know, like, tell me everything they can about how much they're spending, what they're doing each weekend. Like, even there's like leisure expenses. So if you're going out getting pissed up, I'll have to add up all of the bar payments and stuff like that to make sure you're actually spending about the same each month.
To £100 each week.
Every week. So I wanted to ask you, so say the person doesn't have a legal job, but they've worked before, but they've got the fees, like they've got the amount of money, can you give them a mortgage?
Like, if they've got sat in a fucking briefcase in cash, it's going to be fucking difficult. Like,
wait, you didn't say impossible, though.
Like, I swear to God, it's not impossible, bruv. None of it's, like, if you get the right advisor, the right people, like,
pay enough money,
there's always someone out there. But what's more common is, like, you know, people obviously, like, we were talking earlier about, like, a lot of, like, the fucking takeaways and stuff like that.
Of course.
You know, like, there's a lot of these other, like, people will, like, launder this money, like, obviously, because they want it in their bank accounts. As long as you haven't done any of that shit in 6 months in that bank account, you don't, like, a lot of the time, I'm probably not going to know you got another bank account, right? Because I'm not doing it fucking, how am I going to know you got another? You could have all that money filtering into that bank account, transfer that into another bank account.
Well, sorry, I thought you had to show you all your bank accounts, or if I can go to you saying I only have one bank account.
But if it's coming up as your name and you're sending it,
but then,
to that account.
But that's the thing. You then wait 6 months, and you stop sending that money over. You wait 6 months. You only need to give me 6 months bank statements. How the fuck am I going to know you were sending that money over?
So it's just so you only see that I have another bank account because I've sent money to that bank account.
Well, yeah, and you've not told me you got that other bank account.
I thought there's like a system to see how many bank. No,
like I can do a credit check on you, but only if you give me consent to. Like I will get a credit report off you if you give it to me, but I will do a credit check, which won't tell me how many bank accounts you got a lot of the time.
I'll just tell you your credit score.
It'll just tell me your credit score. Like, that's what the bank's doing.
So it's very basic. So what type of credit scores do you need then?
Like, a lot of the time, like, it's like, with a mortgage, it's weird how they do it. Like, that each lender's got separate criteria as to what they will and won't take. Like, a lot of the high street, if you're in an average position, you'll find, like, that isn't a problem. If you've got IVAs, bankruptcies, that kind of shit going on.
What's an IVA, sorry?
So, you know, like, if you default on your credit agreements, the county, it'll be like county judgment, or an IVA set up.
You're missing credit card payments, basically.
It could be credit card, it could be like very payments, it could be Klarna. Basically any large amount, like your car payment, you stop, like a lot of that stuff, like they can basically apply to the courts for you to get a monthly payment going out.
Like for all of that.
Yeah, or like if you've got loads of credit cards, an IVA will then condense them all, reduce that interest rate and make it more manageable for you to pay out. But for both of those, they will basically blacklist you from a mortgage for a few years. So because obviously you've ended up in a situation where you can't repay your money, you know, like there's obviously been an issue with borrowing in the past. They're not going to trust you to take out 300 grand on a mortgage. But for a lot of people, like they ended up in that trouble because they got kids to feed, or they've you know they've gone and got a nice car or whatever, and they've lost their job, and then it's like, fuck, how am I doing this anymore? Like, it isn't maybe that they're bad at managing money, maybe that there's been a bad life event, you know, or they go out and actually buy a house and then shit happens and then they can't pay their mortgage. Well, fuck, if they ever try and sell that house now, they're never going to be able to buy another one for a few years. Like, or actually, if it does come to then like trying to remortgage, they're going to have to stay with the same lender no matter what the interest rate is, because you've got to remortgage when your fixed rate comes up. So you fix in when you buy the house for 2, 3, 5, 10 years. And then when that finishes, you've got to fix in again. Otherwise, you go up to a massive interest rate. You know, like with like a Sky contract. Like when it ends, they boost it up. Like you then fix in for another period. Like if you've got like IVAs, bankruptcies in that first period, like you're going to have to stay with that same lender to fix in. You don't have a choice about going over to Barclays and getting a new mortgage because they're not going to give it to you. You know, so a lot of that stuff does kind of tie you in to your house or tie you out of a house in a lot of instances.
So when they ever get to a stage where it's like, so you have those type of things, would they give you the house but the payments might be higher? Or they just wouldn't give you the house?
So what do you mean, sorry?
As in, say for example, like you're trying to buy a house and and you got the money, but you have like an IVA, you have a bankruptcy. Would it be a state where like they might give you the house, but the payments on the return might be higher because you've got those type of things, or no?
Like what the banks won't do with mortgages is like charge you a specific interest rate necessarily because of your circumstance. That bank just won't accept you. So what you'll end up doing is going to an off the high street kind of lender, like you would with like anything else if you needed money and that big bank wasn't going to sponsor you. Those guys will then charge you an even higher interest rate. If you then got an IVA and that kind of stuff, you'll go into an even shadier dude who's just some like hedge fund somewhere who's then giving them money, you know, like you know, in that kind of circumstance, and they're charging you like 3 times the high street interest rate. So you can buy your house, but you're going to be bankrupt within a few years, and they're going to repossess your house, or they're going to ask you for a certain amount. Like what we don't really think about is a deposit isn't there for you guys, right? Like if they wanted everyone to own a house, they wouldn't charge a deposit because then everyone could just buy a house. But the problem with that is if you then can't pay your mortgage, well, then the bank have to repossess your house. They have to then sell your house. They're going to lose money because that costs them money, and you don't actually have any money in your house to pay those fees. So all you're doing when you pay your 5, your 10% deposit is give the bank a guarantee. If they come and repossess your ass in fucking a year's time, they're going to get their money back on the fees that they're going to be charged for auctioning off your house for dirt cheap, and they're going to do it under the house's actual price, most likely in some auction somewhere. And not only are you going to probably have it sold for less than you bought it for, but you're also going to have all of the fees taken off the value, and they'll just give you whatever's left. So you could have like 20-30 grand invested in your house and only get like a couple of grand back from that in some cases, you know, because they've charged all of this money in repossession costs and auction costs and fees and everything, and you've just put all that money in, but you've lost your job, can't pay your mortgage. They've repossessed you and kicked you out, and
you've got, for example, a nice car as well,
and then now you've lost
fuck.
You know what actually scares me though? We're all meant to buy houses, but we have like I didn't have any. The average person knows none of this.
No, and this is what I mean, bro. Like,
terrifying.
How long have we been here now?
Like an hour.
Like
or so,
that is literally like if you go and sit in front of a mortgage advisor and they actually had a decent conversation with you about how the system works and how you know, and obviously like we're doing it off script. Like a lot of this stuff, like if we sat down and went through it in an actual, you know, detailed way, like you would be learning like a hell of a lot more than we can just over conversation.
And I swear, even for information, do I have to pay you?
Well, that's what I mean. Like if you come sit in front of me at 600 quid, like
The conversation we've had kind of today, this might not be a 600 quid conversation, but it'll be worth something, innit?
But that's what I mean. Like,
all of you listening as well,
it'll be worth something.
Nice, man.
That first like interview, you could say, like when you sit down in front of a mortgage advisor, they're never going to tell you anything because they want to learn as much from you as possible.
Okay.
The second one, they're going to try and tell you which mortgage they want you to take, but they're not going to tell you any of this. They're then going to ask you if you want to take that mortgage. And as soon as you say yes, you're going to be paying them a fee. Or you can be paying half the fee. And then when the mortgage is actually at offer stage, so when the bank say, yeah, we're willing to give you it, you'll then probably pay the other half the fee, or you'll pay another fee. Like, they're, in a lot of instances, that's how a mortgage advisor will charge the fees. And obviously, like we said, then there's all of those other things that come on top of that for them. But realistically, like, that first appointment really should be more of a two-way street. Like, it shouldn't just be about them telling you, like, I think a lot of people don't want to like put away the time anymore. It's like, well, I could just put this in Google and go compare. So why would I want to sit there for 2 hours? Why am I paying you to tell me what I should be doing when you could just do it for me? Like,
I think it's kind of what you were saying actually. To be loopholes, it's laziness, isn't it? Because
man.
Obviously, I reckon I always say this about everything. I generally think if you spend enough time on the internet to looking for something, you'll probably find enough information about something. You know what I'm saying? But it's just long to do, innit?
Yeah,
so
man.
That's why there's things like Go Compare.
And obviously mortgage advisors as well. Yeah.
Well, this like, and the funny thing is, like, a lot of mortgage advisors will be sat there like on YouTube learning how to become a mortgage advisor, right? Like, that's how their tutoring's going. Like, they're reading through the book, going, "Oh shit, I'll have to research that bit on YouTube." Like, you know, if you want to spend enough time doing anything, of course you're going to learn enough. I think
100%.
the big thing that bothers me about the industry is obviously people in power with that knowledge reserving it or charging a hell of a lot of money for it when they know that they can be making enough profit in any other sense anyway, or in fact the business model itself doesn't work and they're running a crap business off of a single strain of their business that's basically keeping all of the other shit afloat. Like, a lot of the time a estate agency doesn't make much money, so they've got the mortgage advisor. Like we said, the mortgage advisor making the real money out of the back.
And that's how they can have you all in
and
one.
that's how they can,
together, innit?
yes, they're tying it together because they know actually that bit's keeping everything else afloat. So we're going to put these guys under so much fucking pressure with targets and stuff like that they're getting in as many people as possible in and out the door, rather than actually sitting down and actually educating.
So instead of having the quality, you just have mass in it.
Yeah, you just want as many people.
More.
And that's
it brings
always
more money as well.
Yeah, man. And as a mortgage advisor that charged a fee, your pitch was always, well, if you sit in front of them and you don't pay them that 600 quid, where the hell where's that coming from? Like, they can be getting so many cases through the door that they're going to be, you know, they don't need to be charging a fee because they've got 500 of you coming in this week. I've only got 10 of you, so, you know, I'm going to give you, and realistically, like, you're talking about targets that were probably quite similar between the both of us, because like I said, the bulk of it's the insurance and stuff like that. Like, that fee in terms of your main case size probably isn't actually that much money. You're more interested in just getting in as many people as possible.
Okay, crazy. I was even going to switch up. So obviously, you know how obviously it has like other impacts on why the housing goes up or why it goes down. Yeah. Kieran was telling me you're kind of into politics. So what can you reckon the government can actually do to help that, or like give us a clear like guidance, or give us like reasoning why it's going to go up or why it's going to go down?
I think the big problem is, like, a lot of this is actually, you know, it's I want to say aided and abetted by the government, because like a lot of this is actually, you know, obviously the Bank of England isn't really the government, it's a separate entity entirely, but what you have between them is obviously this kind of coalition of power where they are making decisions together in a lot of ways, you know. The idea is, of course, that they should be benefiting all of us, and they should be, you know, inflation should be 2%. They don't want prices going up too much. The house prices should be going up. We don't want them going up too much. You know, all of these things are, you know, perfectly reasonable for, you know, food prices to go up 2% or house prices to go up 2 or 3%. Because then, you know, if everything's going up in line with each other, we're getting wealthier as a country. You know, all of those things are good. Yeah. But when you've got, you know, things like interest rates rising at skyrocketing amounts. You've got things like inflation for groceries, foods going at rates we haven't seen in our generation. You know, like for a lot of those things, I don't know if there's necessarily an answer for our government, because I don't think they're going to be the people who are going to resolve it. I don't know if voting in the Labour Party is going to do any better. Like, I think for us, like, obviously in our memory, like in our 20s, we don't remember a Labour Party government, like, and if we did, we were like 7, 8 years old, like, Tories been in 13 years, like, we're not going to remember the politics of the time or what shit, they were doing, what decisions were good or bad, like, we just see this Tory party doing absolutely fucking shit, and we think, well, we need to get them out as fast as possible, but I think the big decision we have to make next is like, well, who actually is going to replace them? Do we want, if you are looking at kind of the politics at the moment, I voted Tory last time. I voted yes on yes to Brexit, and yet now I'm thinking, well, actually, the Tory party was fucking awful. That was a terrible decision. Like probably most youths that voted Tory last time. I think Brexit has been handled absolutely terribly by the government that have done it. Whether it could have been done better or not, I think it's been handled poorly. I think it may have worked if it hadn't have been, but there's no way we can know now. Like, I think we're in a position now where if we do vote in anyone else, they're probably not going to do much for us anyway. I think it is more about looking at other solutions as a community, as people, rather than...
But what other solutions are there?
Because I was always going to say, obviously, like, when it comes to voting, I always feel like, is there even any point? Because really and truly, they're all chatting shit. That's actually how I look at it.
Yeah, man. Like,
they're all just selling, all just want the power in it. So they're just going to sell some shit. They don't really actually care about us.
Because that power changes their lives.
Of course, exactly.
The power changes their lives, isn't it?
Us as actual people, innit? So.
But I think that's the problem, innit? Like, sorry, mate, carry on.
I was just saying, look how many politicians, before they get to where they are, look at the type of guys they are already, and then they get that power, and now they're all pricks. Like they're legit, they're pricks in their relationships, and they bring it to the country and that. And that's what I'm saying.
That's the thing. Whatever you think about like them as personally as people, like if you go in as a minister and you worked in transport beforehand, you're not allowed to work in transport as a minister.
Or is that how it works?
Yeah, because you could have influence within that sector already. But you're then going into an industry you know fucking nothing about. So how are you going to actually,
make it better if you don't know anything about it?
So you're relying on the civil servants behind you who we haven't actually voted in to make a lot of those decisions and advise you on those. Like, a lot of this isn't about like us taking a stand and voting. Like, I think a lot of it is about thinking about this concept as a whole that was created fucking hundreds of years ago when we were still hitting each other with rocks and think, well, maybe we need to do a bit of changing around here. I think we heard a lot more about it with the royal family, people talking about the change within the monarchy. Do we actually need that as it is at the moment? Whatever your opinion on that is.
Personally, they're all the same.
Like,
the whole family is the same.
I heard they're meant to bring in revenue into the country, innit? Obviously, that's the only I've heard about. That's the only reason, really. But apart from that, then
I do think though, at least for a shorter period of time, if they disappeared, there'd be a hell of a lot more tourism. It would be the world's biggest mystery. They all just disappeared overnight. That would be great. But I don't think, obviously I'm taking the piss out of that.
I get you.
I think when tourism's concerned, like people are still going to want to visit the capital. They're still going to want to visit a castle.
So you're saying that's like a weak thing?
Yeah, man. Like,
I'm just going for what I hear people.
I think for a lot of people that is the argument, isn't it? It's like actually we still like the funny men dressed in funny clothes, wandering around pushing children and stuff over because that's pretty funny, like we still like the idea of that. I don't think that necessarily is like what we're arguing against. Like, again, like I'm not saying like a royal family needs to be abolished or in any sense.
So what did they actually do? Like, what's the purpose of the minute?
Well, like I said, it's literally about tourism. Like,
so that is actually
you're absolutely right, man. That is exactly what they're there for. Like,
tourism, bro.
Yeah, King Charles gets the final say effectively on the laws that are passed.
Yeah,
but, like,
of course he does, but
most of it's about going around the Commonwealth and doing all that charity and like.
I can't lie. I feel like half the Commonwealth don't actually like them anyway. Yeah, if we're being honest, they don't, innit? So
for good reason, like we invaded you. Congratulations.
I'm happy because you stopped.
That's
crazy.
So I think when it comes to like that sort of politics, like I think all we need to do as people is think about this. Like it's as simple as that. Like we're all around the same age. We're literally socialising with people our own age all the time. Like we're all got the same kind of minds. We're all thinking the same kind of shit, and yet we're like in this position where we're like, oh well, but if we vote, it's not going to change anything. It's like, well, why are we fucking thinking about voting then? Like, why aren't we changing something? Like, there's got to be other avenues to this shit, and I think a lot of that's at the local level. We got, you know, we grown up in areas where people are literally stabbing each other on like a weekly, monthly basis, like daily, and a lot of the time, like, you know, we're getting that shit, and a lot of it is like people that went to school together, people who grew up together, people who are like
even boys,
man, like people that like had some beef over some fucking blood or something.
Yeah. Own blood, cousins and stuff. Man, it's crazy.
Like I think we've always been like that to a degree. Like it's always been about like who can get out on top. But I don't think it's ever been this bad, man. Like in a lot of our communities, like we've probably never been more like more ripped apart. Like whether it's a race issue, whether it's a gender issue, whether it's down to postcode, man.
That's the problem. Everyone wants to be the boss. Like you said, it's power.
Yeah, I think it's power. Like, I also think like sometimes it's down to actual poverty, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
Because the less money you have, as you're even talking about like how much everything's gone up, the less money you have as a person, the more money you want to make, and that can bring so much trouble. And you're not making money off the books, innit?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like you said about poverty, like you know, when we were heading up here, I literally grabbed the figure for that because it was something that fucking, you know, I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
I think we were looking at 3.9 million children in poverty in the UK right now.
Children.
3.9 million children, 13.4 million people.
Crazy.
In poverty.
In
Out
poverty.
of the first world countries, obviously
UK.
In the UK, that's UK, bro.
Yeah,
that's UK.
Out of first world countries, there can't be like that many countries more than that, you know. Obviously, probably America. I can imagine they've got more.
When they say like poverty, is that your parents are earning under a certain amount of income, or is that just
what's the actual definition?
Poverty
Is that you can't afford to live month to month?
So you got like a couple of different, you know, like classifications of poverty. Of course, like if we're talking about comparisons between like here and a lot of places in like South America, Africa, Asia, like
really poverty,
obviously like there's, you know, there's levels to it, but you know when we're looking at like
poverty be classified in the UK, innit?
Well, they're talking about like 320,000 people have been turned to food banks. You know, 40% increase from 2020 to 2021.
So I'm getting
in 1 year.
In 1 year. A total of 1.3 million food parcels were given out during that time. 1.9 million children are eligible for free school meals in England, according to the latest government figures. That's 22.5% of all state school pupils. So, what, you know, I guess you could take that
25%.
Yeah,
22 and a half, of all state school kids. And so what you're effectively saying is like those parents would struggle to put meals in their lunchbox for their kids, and you want to take that pressure off of them. And a lot of the time, like, you know, there are a lot of kids in that position that aren't even entitled to those free school meals. Like, you know, for a lot of people who are working day to day, paycheck to paycheck.
Like, for example, their parent might earn like a couple grand or two over that line of where they can afford that type of stuff, but really they can't.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Like, you know, there's stories about people who are literally working part time because if they go full time, they're going to lose their benefits.
Taxes.
They're going to be paying more taxes. They're going to lose the benefits they're on. So actually, they're going to be earning less in, you know, net payments each month. So, you know, they're forced into a position where it's like, well, I can't pay for childcare and stuff then. So how can I go full time? I want to be working. I don't want to be sat at home.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, how am I going to be enticed back into the workforce after having children or like after an accident? If actually I'm going back to a sort of a lower level role or, you know, into a low level role that's not going to pay me a decent enough salary to get by each month. You know, and we started this conversation off about bloody mortgages, you know, like, let alone that kind of shit, man. Like, it's out of the, you know.
It does all link in, man, because like if people can't literally afford to live, how the hell are we talking about mortgages at that point? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, credit cards, all sorts, man. Like, it's all going up at the moment, so it is going to get.
Do you feel like the whole thing, you know, like because London's a very expensive area, do you feel like they're obviously like poverty-stricken people? Like, do you feel like they're forcing them people out of the expensive areas now, like London, and sort of like Manchester's getting a bit more expensive? I mean, outskirts isn't, but you see people getting shoved out. Would you say that's sort of?
I think I hear it slightly, like, but at the same time, I feel like poverty is just everywhere. Like everywhere you go, like even when we're going football the other day, you always see a crackhead.
Yeah.
Like, okay, there's more than crackheads to poverty, but you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying. Like, you always can, and it's a thing of, it's even evident as well. You can look at someone and be like, you get me, and think, oh.
Well, the amount of time we spent around Tent City, Milton Keynes.
Can't
go under an underpass.
Milton Keynes has a lot.
Oh, mate,
people, man. A lot.
It's,
a lot.
You're
literally just saying, every underpass you go down, there's a 10. 10 there.
It's crazy as well. A lot of homeless people, they used to be like in the military as well. It's crazy stat.
Some of them even for example, that car one. I remember speaking to a guy. He said the same thing. I lost my car, couldn't find my house. Now I'm homeless.
Yeah.
Just like that. Yeah. And deep, you're getting benefits. Like you said, you can't even go into full-time work. So then you lose the motivation to work anyway. Because you're thinking part-time, I get my paycheck, nearly how much 100 has come off. I can't even live off that. You feel me? So then,
and obviously, I know the problem isn't going to be solved this easy, but we're talking about how many empty houses are there, and people have gone to serve the country and can't even coming back on the street.
But that's the fucked up thing. Is like, I think the problem is that support is there until it's not for a lot of these servicemen. Like, you know, you are talking about like servicemen paying rent of like £50-100 a month. You know, like they are given good benefits in terms of like housing costs, and I'm not talking for every base, you know, like, but you know it's a lot less than you'd be paying for a house outside of that. But as soon as you're not serving, or as soon as you kind of step away from that culture, you're on your own, mate. Like you're gone now. You might get your pension if you've been discharged in the right way. You might, you know, and I think we were talking about Tent City in Milton Keynes. You know, like for a lot of those people, like once you become homeless and you don't have a registered address, like, you can't go and get a bank account because where you can get your letters to.
Then you probably can't even get a job.
Yeah, so how are you going to get a job if you can't get PAYE? You know, like, you can't get paid. So if you go cash in hand, you're breaking the law. So if you go on a construction site, how are you going to start up a limited company? Like, you know, like...
I even got a question, So obviously, we know what you're doing, so you must be half decent at budgeting. What do you reckon that's like one of the biggest things that kill all these like young people right now?
I was going to ask about money management.
I need because that. Obviously I know you've got the basics of like going out too much, spending too much money on clothes and that, but I feel like there are other stuff that people must do where they lose so much money a month. So what would you say was one of the biggest ones?
Well, I know my missus is going to watch this back and she's going to be fucking laughing you've said this because I'm shit at budgeting. She does it all. My biggest problem is like fucking takeaways, man. You don't realise like how much that shit adds up. Like,
because
you know,
£117 meal.
You can't
Nando's or something.
And the thing is, when you go and Just Eat and stuff, like,
they put delivery fee.
You're spending minimum £15. You're paying minimum £15 on any meal on Just Eat. You're never gonna get something for a £5 on there. It's crazy.
Man, or like just fucking like people who work in like city, man. Like I was working in Luton Centre, fucking Mackey's 2 minutes down the road. I'm not getting up to fucking pack a lunch. I'm gonna go Mackey's and grab £2 burger.
Nah, bro, I can't lie. That was like me when I was working. There was just too much food.
Man.
Bro, too much, and you're just you're looking and you're thinking. It's like I'm not waking up that 30 minutes earlier to make something, to put in my bag, to then... Nah, so...
Because me and Kieran even touched that burger van. It's like, you'd go to the burger van, it's not too pricey, but if you actually break it down, it adds up.
Yeah, we spend like £5 a day man. Like 25 quid a week, that's £100 a month.
I used to work near you guys, so I went to the same...
Oh, really?
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's fucking shout out to them. They're fucking it is fucking proper Damz.
I wasn't even working on a Friday, and James, I was like, you know what, James, I'm still gonna go anyway. I'll take
proper
good food, but man, like that's like it could be fucking 100 quid a month. Like that's still £100 a month you could be spending on something else. But like for a lot of people, like we're working longer days now, right? Like you know, if we're talking about our grandparents' generation, they were like. You know, money in the household, maybe hasn't changed that much, but like, chances are our nans were probably working, like, looking after the kids, right? Like, that is a full-time job in itself. I fucking was for my mum. Like, you know, like, that's a lot of work looking after kids, but nowadays, that's not necessarily a choice that you have. Like, you're probably having to work. You've probably not got that boundary, and so, like, you know, even if you are our age and you're going and doing these long hours, if you're a parent who's doing long hours and you've got kids coming in and out of school, you are probably relying more on fast food and stuff like that.
And it's so accessible as well.
It's accessible.
Compared to what it was like advantages.
That's why they make a killing, because when you get back from your shift, you're not going to now pick yourself up, want to whip something up. There will be that odd day where you're like, I'm spending too much money. You get me? But 90% of the time, it's like what you said, get back from school. Mum's not going to want to cook, done school rounds, everything. Let's get a takeaway. And there's 7 days in a week. 4 of those days you spend on takeaway.
That's true. That's true.
Like, bro, it's crazy.
At least a tenner at a time, like minimum. But like, if you go down to the supermarket and you're buying raw ingredients for 4 kids, like,
You could spend like 40 quid for the whole week.
Yeah, like you probably like it is obviously it's cheaper going down and cooking your own meals, like, but it's probably not that.
Yeah,
like, it's getting thinner,
probably,
like that boundary.
Yeah.
But then we're talking about fast food chains like putting up their prices quite a bit in recent years and that kind of stuff as well. So
I remember you used to get chicken burger and chips for like £3 now, and now you're paying nearly £6.
Did you guys see that? There was like loads of uni students doing a protest in London about like food and stuff. It was because there's so many fast food joints now around. So these uni students are trying to protest, trying to say like, there's too many fast food joints. The later generation, we're all going to be obese. So I'm thinking like, well, that's your choice.
It is your choice.
For eating fast food is your choice. Because I know guys that don't eat no fast food.
This is actually a thing, like all these.
Yeah, but people protest about anything. Anything now, innit? Like,
And I'm not being funny, if Mackey's is there could be fucking 10 others. Like, if it's just Mackey's, you're probably still going to go get a Mackey's if you need a takeaway, right? Like, you're probably not going to do that 4 times a week, but it doesn't matter if there's 50 or 10, you're probably still going to have your choices. Exactly. I don't think that's necessarily the issue in that.
It doesn't really change anything anyway.
Jamie Oliver's fucking having a nightmare right now, isn't he?
We're ruining some lives. Fat people. Fucking hell, man. Yeah, but I think that's my biggest issue with budgeting, man, is I just fucking eat too much takeaways. But like for a lot of people, I think it's things like spending too much on cars and shit, man. If you go down and you're trying to get a mortgage, they're gonna, like I said, they're gonna go through all your budgeting. So if you're guaranteeing yourself 240 quid a month on a Mercedes, 110 £110 on insurance, 300 quid on your credit cards, all that shit, I've then got to take that off of how much you earn in each month, effectively.
And that's nearly a K already.
Yeah, you're talking like a lot of money just on those things, and then you want to pay your mortgage and shit, mate.
So I was even saying that, for example, saving towards a mortgage as well, like, which is the same process, isn't it, really?
Well, like, again, for things like savings, like a lot of people, if you're building up a bulk of money, you probably do want to be investing it in some form, like in light investments that aren't high risk. You want them steady and slow, but if you're keeping your money in a bank account, what you got to imagine is if prices are going up by 12% each year, like inflation, house prices are going up by a couple of percent each year.
Your money's staying the same, innit?
Your money's staying the same, so you're losing money every minute that money's in that bank account. So there's not really a good way of saving in today's world unless the interest rates keep coming up and banks actually start paying good interest rates on people's savings and making it more worthwhile.
So as of right now, since they haven't gone up, innit, you would say the best way of saving is obviously save regularly, but have some type of investments. Which
what type of investments would you say?
To be fair, mate, it could be any, like most of it's like low risk stuff. Like you can, even with a small amount, like there's a lot of companies nowadays that can invest small portions into like big crowdfunding investments. You can choose for like lower risk options, higher risk options. Like there are types of ways of doing it. The other thing is you could kind of like educate yourself on different ways of like building stocks and shares. Like there are a lot of stable stocks and shares, which obviously if the market crashes, I'm going to eat those words. But not all stocks aren't always stable. But there are certain wise investments to make, or you could put in like a high interest ISA that you can't access, or like certain types of government backed ISAs that are going to build you up even more in government backed bonuses. So like I definitely say do your research before you start putting money aside into like stocks and shares. If you're uncomfortable with that and you're not well educated as to how to do it, then you probably do want to be just putting in like high interest ISAs, but you're still probably going to be losing value on them with inflation as it is at the moment.
Okay, cool.
That's not really any way of being it. You're just stuck in the system.
Losing money.
We always losing money. Always losing money, but you gotta make it till you break it, man. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Right now, you just have to just keep on working on stuff, keep on working, and then hopefully.
This convo could have gone on for another 2 hours. I'll be real.
Yeah, man. I think I might have killed off half the listeners. It's just all about opening windows right now. Like it's all fucking over. But I think things will get better. It's always on a cycle. I don't think it's about like everyone rushing out and buying a house now. We are a little bit worried about it. Maybe hold your horses, try and save up a little bit more money, see what the prices start to do over the next sort of year or two. But overall, I think just as a generation, we need to start doing more actually actively to try and mitigate this issue that we're going to be facing over the years. It's not about bombing house prices. It's about appropriately managing these big corporations and the taxes they're paying, actually giving certain windfalls to young couples with children who are looking at up. So, there's definitely ways that we can do
basically make it easier for people.
But make it easier for people, and the only way we can do that is actually like the actual human population of the country,
well, I feel like that's never
the lizards.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think that's ever gonna happen.
Yeah,
like it really and truly, I feel like it sounds good, but I don't feel like I can see the nation trying to be, because I feel like the rich are just trying to get richer. So it's like you just have to get.
They're
rich,
just trying to get
That's
rich.
actually what it is, isn't it?
Life,
you just need to get in that circle.
But the funny thing is, like, we all say that, like, it's us that vote them in, right? Like, we've all got to say, and, like, any one of us can go and stand as an MP right now. We're all able to do it, but we're never taught at school how to do it. We're never actually encouraged to do it. We're all told that, actually, you can never make a difference by placing one vote.
That is a point,
like, I think all it does take is, one person from our community that we trust and actually respect to stand up and say, well, I'm actually going to represent us, rather than some dude who moved here because the Labour Party have a stronger hold there than they do in their constituency.
I was even going to say, for example, like, if you see, you're saying you're never taught to be ministers and whatever, it's because, like, majority of them, they come from Cambridgeshire, they come from Oxfordshire, they come from richer areas in the country, and they've never actually experienced, if they talk about poverty, but how can you talk about poverty to a person who's never experienced any type of poverty at all? So
everything's been on the silver
spoon. They've gone to private schools, they've been paid to get to these places. So what you're saying about obviously getting someone from the community, I think that's a great idea, to be honest, but again,
but they weren't allowed.
It's all down to us, isn't it? Like, it's all down to us.
It's down to us, but would they allow that? That's another thing.
Like
they know who they're looking for. Like,
I
get me. Like,
you have to basically break the system.
One of us going. We have the maddest picture dropping, mad game. They're not gonna look at us and be like, I want him to run this country.
Yeah. But if enough people get behind it, they don't have a choice.
That's what I mean. Like, we don't need to be talking about prime ministers and shit. Like, all we're talking about is, like, people that we respect, people in our neighbourhoods, people who actually grew up and were born in the places that they want to represent, standing up, representing their people's views. I mean, like, have you guys ever heard of, like, a whip in Parliament?
No, what's that?
Like, that's something that people don't talk about. Like, if you belong to the Tory party, the Labour party, the Lib Dem party, whoever it is, you'll have whips in the party, and their job is to go along to all of the MPs that represent me and you and tell them how to vote. That is the job. The dude at the top's telling us we need to vote for this, so we all need to get together and we need to vote for this. They're not representing me and you, they're representing the party's belief. And so we're taught that when we vote, we're voting for the party. But what we're all forgetting is there's some dude who's representing us in that party who's not listening to us. He's listening to the whip, he's listening to the Prime Minister, he's listening to the First Minister.
So he's not even listening to anything.
He don't give a shit what you say. You voted him in. He's now in. He don't give a fuck for another 5 years. As long as hopefully the dude at the top's made shit better in your area in that period, he don't give a fuck. As long as he can stay in next election.
And I'll be completely honest, I just feel that errors always just getting, all the errors are just getting worse and worse and worse.
Bro.
You know what I'm saying?
It's just, I don't know, man. I don't think I'll ever suss it out.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever suss it out, but it's what
well,
it is.
Suss what out? As in politics in general, just suss?
Just life, bro. Like
the
how everything is.
The Matrix.
How everything is, I tell you.
Yeah, it's just, I think, it's like, I don't think we need to really, because I don't think it needs to exist. Like, I think we will, I don't understand, like, how our generation can get to the stage where we do that kind of stuff. Like, if none of us know how to do that shit, like, surely there's someone in our, like, generation who's getting taught the same shit that this generation above us who've taken this control is getting taught. Like, do you guys think that's the, like, Cambridge lot that you were talking about?
Yeah,
do you think it's the
Leiden
lot? Like,
they're definitely teaching this stuff somewhere.
Yeah, and that's
but they won't teach it in
not to
the lower...
Not to state schools, etc. The top-end private schools.
Private schools.
I think that's where, like, the Prime Minister...
Because that's where you get all them dukes from young and that. That's in them schools, Cambridge, Oxford, them sides there.
Yeah, that's what I think as well, to be honest. I don't think... it's going to be taught down to here. And it's going to take one guy to just literally stand up and be like, yo,
one guy
this is it. This we need to change, innit?
Yeah, man.
It's going to take that one person, but...
No, but with that whip in the middle...
Yeah.
But that's what I mean, like...
Can we get it? Can we abolish the whip?
Well, that's the thing. Why are we voting for parties anymore, right? Like, if we had dudes in our community standing as independents for our community, because you can vote for an independent, right? You don't have to go and vote for a Tory or a Labour Party or a Lib Dem member. You can go vote for an independent that independently represents you, but they're going to have less power in Parliament because they don't have a party backing them, so they're not going to be as as influential. So actually, if all of them were independents, I think the system would just fucking crash, because you wouldn't have, like, a Prime Minister leading a party, because there is no party to lead. What happens then? Like, I don't know.
So that Nico, he was had a thing, didn't he?
Yeah, he was going for Mayor of London.
That was it. Yeah.
Oh, so
yeah, I think he finished like 6th, 6th.
Mad,
Something high though.
Right.
Yeah.
That ain't bad, is it?
That's not bad at all. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Hell.
And
I
he,
might try for mayor, you know.
Nah, this is not a good idea.
What,
mayor of Luton or mayor of Houghton?
I don't know, like, but I feel like I have a voice. Like, if I was gonna pull strings,
what would your first thing? What would your first thing you would do,
bro? Youth clubs, straight youth clubs.
100%.
Bro, because how your brethren's just dying in front of you.
Yeah.
From young age of 14 and that.
Yeah.
But if you're telling me, and another thing, football is bad. Do you know, I read one thing this week.
Football is bad.
Yeah, because they're not giving, as much as you've got so many youngsters coming through, they still pick and choose who they want.
Yeah,
Remember
of course.
Whereas there's actual raw talent. There's raw talent. And if a man has raw talent but he speaks to you a certain way, doesn't mean you got to send him out.
And it also goes down to, again, it's like poverty, innit? Because the people that they pick and choose is because their parents have money to probably fund them to get to these academies. Whereas the person with raw ability, not always, but sometimes won't have the money to even get to training.
Yeah, true say. But
boots.
that's where you can help funding. Like, you can don't talk about someone's dreams and not want to help their dreams. Get me? It takes yourself as well, but if you can help in a way, help, innit? Cool, they try scholarships and stuff like that. But what you, 14, seeing his brethren that is going to sit in the scholarship. Just give my man the pathway, say, yo, it's like this, do that. And then individually as a person, they'll pattern up themselves. And then that's where more opportunities come. Oh, my brethren did this. Now I want to do that. You get me? So I would do stuff like youth clubs. Just get knives and all that off the street. Like, it has to be gone. Like, even guns, everything. Because you don't know what people have get on their hands these days, you know. You don't even know what people have.
Yeah, man.
People have some tight weapons and stuff.
Crazy stuff.
Bro, people have some tight weapons and stuff. So imagine just having all your people in one area. You're all calm, all chilling in the youth club. No problems, nothing. Get me? It changes. It makes an impact on the world.
You say in the youth club, they have stuff there which like actual skills they can learn in the youth club. It's not, man's not just going to give you snooker and PS4, bro. Like, you're going to come to the youth club on a Monday to Friday basis. You're going to learn, there'll be engineers teaching other upcoming engineers. There'll be artists on occasional weekends, performance.
Sometimes they have like stuff on the boards in youth clubs, like apprenticeships and stuff like that.
Even partnering to schools and stuff.
That's what I was going to say. What about national service? Not like the level of like where everyone's going into combat, but like where maybe you leave school at 18 and rather than like going straight to uni or going straight into school, like you spend 2 years where you go into an apprenticeship effectively, where you have to go and learn life skills and you have to go and spend time within a community that isn't necessarily your own. And I think it'd make people probably more accepted.
Another thing saying that I know so many youths that are good at one specific thing. If they were said, yo, after school, you're doing this for 2 years,
they'll do much better.
Imagine a boxer. You're telling a boxer he's on the roads, he's bad in school, he's bad, but he's got this ability. You know he's got this, and you give him that pathway. That's only gonna better his life.
100%. Even going back to what you were saying as well, about for example going to taking a year off to go to uni. I feel like people go to uni because they have sometimes they have no idea what they want to do. But then indirectly are getting 50 grand debt.
You go study maths.
Exactly. Something you don't care about.
And then that's where you get yourself tied into things like, you have no money for food. You have no money for this. And if you knew what you was doing, you might have even managed your money way better than.
And there's two other things. It's like you're getting taught by somebody effectively who doesn't really understand business. Obviously, they understand to this extent, but they don't understand it in a way where they've actually ever run a business themselves. So you're learning off someone who's just been taught the same way to do stuff. And that's 3 years out of your life that you can't save. You can't save when you're in university unless you've got obviously a very wealthy family and stuff. But there's no chance.
The educational system needs to be a bit better. Like they need to give more opportunities and different things. It's not just straight to uni. Like cool, guy might not be book smart, but if you can see in PE or in music he's good at this, give him that opportunity.
It's also down to like the life cycle that we're saying we have. Because everyone thinks. I remember at 17, I always say it's like by 25 I thought cool, I'd have a house, I might even have a kid. And now I'm like nearly 24 and I'm just like, Yeah, I'm like,
calm.
We're trying to work stuff out in life, so it's like, yeah, just about having that time stuff like that.
Yeah, it's growing up too young, isn't it? Like we all wanted to be
100%.
fucking big boys at like 18, and it's like even still, man, you're an adult, but like still making shitty decisions. You're still doing stupid shit. Like,
and stupid way we'll learn though, innit?
Yeah.
Because if life was all rosy, all perfect, then everyone would be the richest people in the world, innit?
That's it, man.
Big facts. I can't lie to you.
Big facts, bro. Cause it's deep. If we weren't making mistakes, you'd know how to make money. Right now, I'd know. Everyone in this room would be like, cool. I'm not making that decision tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know I can make peas like this. Let me make peas. But you can't. Like,
everyone would be doing the same shit.
Exactly.
It's just like,
and then the richer don't remain rich because everyone's rich. You feel me? So.
Yeah, I think there's always like caps on these luxuries, isn't it? Like the reason why they're so expensive is because there's a finite amount of them. So those guys get to enjoy that shit because there's only a certain amount of it. So you'll never be able to get that because there's only enough of them. So I think a lot of it is just, I don't know if it's about like increasing wages or anything like that. I think it's more about like I said, education, man. Like you get in there early, start teaching kids what they actually need to learn at school. They're already keeping kids until 18. Fair enough. Like. If you actually, like, the biggest problem coming out of school, uni, whatever that shit is, it's fucking work experience, bro. Like, you probably never got a chance to work, so why aren't they actually making you fucking work for 2 years? Or, like, if you want to go into construction, giving you, like, an apprenticeship for 2 years on a construction site. Like, giving you those kind of, available options at 18, and then more people wouldn't have to rely on uni. They wouldn't have to rely on trying to find a job and career, because, like, they've already got skills, they've already built up like work experience, they've already done those things. So you can already see their track record, you can see if they're a good worker, you can do all those things. And like you said, make mistakes. Like, you're not worried about being fucking unemployed tomorrow because you're doing it through like, you're not worried about feeding your kids. Like, there's 100%. No chance for that, man. You're just fucking tossed out into the world. Like, you can have a kid at 17, but you're legally not able to give consent to drinking alcohol until you're 18, but you can. You're
literally raising a whole other human.
Yeah,
being.
you can raise a family. You can drink booze. You can do that, but you can't legally consent to smoking cannabis like a fucking adult. Like,
it's true.
That's what they're saying.
Getting stopped over
man.
Stuff like that.
You don't have consent to smoke cannabis. That's it. Like, you can't consent to that, but you can consent to all of that other shit. Like, at a young age, it's like. If we're functional adults, how come we can't make that decision for ourselves? Like, whether you do, whether you don't, like, fair enough. But, like, you're able to make a hell of a lot harsher decisions at 16 joining the military than, like,
then
fucking, or, like, having a fucking pint, with a family meal and some shit. Like, man, I think it is all about us just changing this shit as a generation. Just saying, like, what the fuck are they doing, man?
Bro, you said it point blank, period, bro. Someone just needs to step up. I say KD just steps up and represent. I say.
What do you want me to
go
represent everyone, man.
What, as like a mayor or something?
As a prime minister.
President.
Just
fucking everything up.
From president.
Yeah, go for it, man. I'll do it.
Fuck it.
Legalise marijuana.
Yeah, man.
Thanks.
Everyone would just be walking around.
Everyone would be so slumped.
Everyone would be slumped all the time.
Everyone would be so slumped.
Maybe we need it, man. Life's hard.
That's what I mean.
Maybe we need it.
Maybe they, in these high-end jobs, they should just have like a weed counter there.
All of them are defo and like.
Because I'm thinking like those jobs are demanding.
I swear, like bankers in like the busier places, they a lot of cocaine use is there in it.
Mortgage, like, mate, I went black tie event stuff like that, man. The fucking place snows. It is everywhere in that industry, man. Like,
it's big,
fucking everywhere. Like, everyone does it. Whether you work in a construction site, anything like that. It's always but finance is fucking huge, man.
100%, man, 100%. But
we've just been given
he's just been dropping gems after
gems. Love for that, bro. 100% love for that.
Yeah, but I hope people found it useful, because I think like a lot of it is just about getting educated, man. Do some 100%. Research, speak to some good people, talk to your family, man. Just do anything you can to get educated.
I didn't even say, but are you big on socials like that? If not, like,
nah, man, I'm completely like under that now.
Like, I was gonna say people get your Instagram, but he's off the map, so don't get his Instagram. Basically, man. But
share this one around as well.
100%. Because
like, comment, and subscribe as well.
Yeah, as we said, that there's a lot of information in here. a lot of education, and honestly, I'm not even like, even me, I've learnt so much today. Like, so I obviously appreciate it a lot, man, because a lot of stuff.
I'm actually gonna be tapping back into this.
100%.
Yeah, good man.
Like, it's actually opened my mind and probably even trying to get me thinking different, man, from even this what we've talked about today.
Bro, just hearing stuff like that, I just gotta go 10 times harder now, innit?
Yeah, man.
Because the government are gonna win regardless.
Yeah.
So let me give them a battle while I can.
Yeah, man.
So
yeah, man. But anything else? And tell the people.
Nah, it's sound, man.
Cool.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it, guys. It's been great.
Cool.
yeah, man.
Until next week, boys.
Oh.
Yep.